sharing my screen here.
Great, thank you, Angela. Yep,
Sure.
and we can see that.
Excellent, perfect. You can all hear me, right?
Yep.
Super. So thank you so much, Shabnam, for having us here. It's really exciting to talk about the conference. My name is Angela Johnsen. I'm a project coordinator with Rutgers Office of Urban Extension and Engagement. I co-chair the Rutgers Cooperative Extension Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee, along with my colleague Kathleen Howell, who's on the call here, many of you know already. So I had the wonderful pleasure and honor of coordinating the National Urban Extension Conference that Rutgers hosted in Camden, New Jersey, just this past month in May. And for those of you, oh, we're having a little trouble. For those of you who are not familiar with the conference, this is a conference held every 2 years so that cooperative extension professionals who work in urban areas across the country can learn best practices from one another so that they can connect with colleagues from other states and share innovative ideas that are helping to improve quality of life in urban communities. So this year, we had approximately 300 attendees from 84 universities or organizations. Almost every state across the nation were there. So we all converged in Camden, New Jersey in person, just across the Delaware River from Philadelphia. And it's a really great location. Camden is a great city to sort of typify the urban experience. It's a small city that had a prosperous past. It was globally influential, but it's really struggled for decades against profound social and economic and environmental challenges. So many cities can identify. And we, since we were close enough to Philadelphia and also Trenton, New Jersey, we were able to take our attendees to all three cities on community site visits to learn about the great work that Extension and community members are doing to make the future more equitable, sustainable, and resilient for residents. So it was a really exciting time. The theme of the conference was Reimagining the Future Together. It's a reference to the opportunity and also the need that there is for urban extension professionals to collaborate and engage with the communities that we serve more effectively, as well as collaborate educational sort of breakout sessions that we had. So I appreciated Mary inviting us to talk a little bit about what we discussed and some of those highlights. So some of the prevalent topics that we're seeing in extension right now across the country are those related to preparing DEI plans. Some universities have them, some of them do not. And really thinking about how do we develop metrics and an accountability structure to measure our progress when it comes to improving diversity, equity, inclusion in our extension work. There's also a lot of discussion about DEI in leadership and organizational processes, how to build an internal capacity and culture of DEI, recruitment practices, talent retention, development practices that relate to diversity, equity, inclusion were also very prominent. Diversity, equity, inclusion in community engagement, and also in research and scholarship. So I thought I would just kind of briefly share some key discussion points that we thought maybe you would find interesting from the diversity, equity, and inclusion panel that we had around the whole idea of metrics and how do we actually measure how we're doing and improving when it comes to increasing DEI and extension. So one of the first points that they had was really be specific and intentional about what you mean by increasing diversity. It's a really simple concept, but so often we fail to be specific enough. And if we don't really know where we're headed, it's hard to really measure how we're doing and getting there. So one of the panelists gave the example of being asked by her organization to come and help them figure out how they could increase the diversity in their programming. she was all excited, thinking this is going to be great, different ethnicities, different ages, different abilities or disabilities. How do we make sure that everyone is being welcomed and profiting from or really having value from the programs? She became confused as they were having their conversation. Finally, she asked, what exactly do you mean when you say you want to increase the diversity of your programs? And they said, oh, well, we want to invite more skateboarders and get more skateboarders involved in our programs. And she just stopped for a moment and thought, oh, that's why I'm getting confused, because their version, or sort of what their vision of increasing diversity, was extremely different from what she was thinking. And so once they had gotten past that and clarified that there's nothing wrong with, really trying to get more skateboarders in your programs. But once they were able to figure out what do we really mean, it was easier to start figuring out, okay, how do we track our progress? Second point is that demographics and quantitative data are very important, particularly when it comes to thinking about diversity and measuring diversity of extension programs, but they're not going to show the whole picture. So as one panelist was saying, representation really matters. If we're looking at our demographic information, really analyzing the quantitative data that we're collecting from our programs, then we can start to see, how are we measuring up compared to the community that we serve, the community demographics. Do we have a large Somali population, but we really aren't seeing members of that community coming to our programs? Okay, there's an issue right there. We need to investigate this a little bit more and see if there's a way that we can do better. But at the same time, when it comes to figuring out how inclusive or how included do people feel when they're in our programs, demographics may not say a lot about that. So she gave the example of being hired specifically to try to increase the diversity at her workplace, but she said the climate there was just so, and sometimes rather hostile, that she felt like her presence there was actually counter to what she was trying to do to help increase diversity. And so she ended up leaving. In their sort of demographic information, data, it'll show that they had increased the diversity there. If they hire another person of her demographic, to replace her, it won't look like that much has actually changed, but the inclusivity of that environment is not really being accurately represented by just the demographic data or the quantitative data. So she just wanted to make sure that we were all thinking about how do we also look at sort of inclusivity and how are we tracking how we're doing on that. And the final point, just very briefly, a reminder that we can all, and we all need to be, change agents in our particular sphere. It's not just the job of the Office of Diversity and Inclusion. Those of us who are involved in reporting or who are involved in programming or even working in the back office and administration, we all have our own ways that we can.
Thank you so much. Our next presenter is Joseph Alfe from Texas A&M University, and Joseph will be talking about how to prepare for a NIFA Civil Rights Compliance Review. Joseph, are you ready?
Yep, thanks, Shabnam.
Sure.
All right, thank you all. My name is Joseph Alfe. I am here at Texas A&M, and I just wanted to talk to you a little bit about, at least my process and my thought process in starting this NIFA civil rights compliance process. I know, any kind of audit always makes people a little uncomfortable, and so I wanted to share with you at least what I'm doing. I'm no expert, but my process. Hopefully, it'll foster some conversation here, and y'all can take something away for yourself, so you can add it to how you're approaching your program. So just a little bit about myself. I am actually the informal resolution facilitator here at Texas A&M. I work out of the Civil Rights and Equity Inclusion Office, which Equity Investigations Office, which includes Title IX. So I am in the civil rights, area here. And like many of you, that's my primary role, and I've been asked to take this on. So, you may be thinking, oh my gosh, I don't even know where to start with this. And that's exactly what I was thinking. And so I'm going to share with you at least my process in how I'm navigating these very, very first steps. And hopefully we can all foster some, connection here and keep in touch and share as we go along this process, what works and what doesn't, and make this a success. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. One second here. All right, can you all see this? We all good? Okay. So this is Texas A&M, right? So I understand that everyone's at different size institutions. So Texas A&M is one of the largest college campuses in the country. We have an enrollment of over 74,000. The A in A&M stands for agriculture. So we are one of NIFA's largest recipients. Start asking myself questions, because I just didn't know where to start. So the questions that you might want to ask yourself is, what is civil rights compliance under NIFA? Who is subject to NIFA compliance? Where can I find this information? How far do I need to take this? How to gather a team, and how to kind of condense or boil down this huge elephant, right? So the elephant, how do you eat an elephant? By taking little bites, right? So that's what we're going to try to do. So what is civil rights compliance? So I've given you the NIFA link here. Most of what you need to know is there. It is kind of scattered around a little bit, so I had to do some hunting.
Joseph, I'm sorry to interrupt you. Your slides aren't advancing, and I don't know if you mean for them to.
They're not advancing?
No, I don't see them advancing. Maybe try pressing F5.
They're advancing on my side, but let's check it out here. Can you what slide do you see me on right now?
I see what is civil rights compliance.
Okay, that's where I'm at.
Okay.
So NIFA's Office of Opportunity and Civil Rights is responsible for doing this process. So the first thing you want to do is you want to find the compliance review schedule, find out where your institution is on there, and what is the date. And also what type of compliance you're going to be tasked with. So there's two different levels of compliance. One is for extension programs and one is for research programs. My approach is that since it's the same compliance, we're just going to get set for both of them at the same time, even though our actual review dates might be different. The civil rights resources and training is all there. The End Justice for All poster, I'll get to that in a minute. And what you want to do is you want to kind of go through these links in the NIFA website and start like cutting and pasting and compiling a running document so you can start building your own policy or your own outline as to how to approach this. All right, so let's see here, trying to get this advanced and it's not working again. Let's see here. All right, so who is subject? So what I had to do, and this is, your first step, I think, is to find out who in your institution actually gets the dollars, who is the recipient of NIFA funding. So in our case, since we're such an enormous institution and we have so many different departments that are getting money, I had to figure out who my stakeholders were. And so I had to do a little sleuthing and networking and finding out what departments are actual, getting money from NIFA. And, is it going to employees and students? Is it going to sub-beneficiaries? Is it going to extension programs? One of the questions that I got from the departments was, hey, we're already compliant with USDA. Why do I have to do this NIFA thing? Well, yes, NIFA is part of USDA, but it is a separate compliance issue. So you may be compliant with USDA, you still have to do the NIFA process. And so the other question is does NIFA money and therefore the compliance attach to every dollar that comes in? And so I had to ask questions as to, okay, what are we doing with this money once we get it from NIFA? Is it going to programs? Is it going to fund actual like purchases of equipment and things like that? So those are the types of things that you need to start thinking of. Where can I find information? Well, it's on the website, but you have to kind of hunt around for it a little bit. So we got the compliance review schedule. There's a contact source there, and I can't stress enough, use the contacts. I've spoken with Mary, I've spoken with Jessica. They all are there to help you. So when you run into a roadblock or have a question, just reach out. There's a whole set of webinars there. The training password is equal opportunity, and it's one word like that. With the
Joseph, I'm so sorry, it's still not advancing. Can you try pressing F5? Maybe if you go into presenter mode, you'll be able to advance the slides. I have no idea what's going on with your presentation.
I don't either.
I'm sorry, but it's such a good presentation. I want people to see all the good content on it.
Yeah, and let me see here. So
I know that hitting F5 puts you into presenter mode. So try hitting F5 and see what happens.
Yeah, I've hit F5 like several times. So what slide are you seeing right now?
Who is subject to NIFA compliance? I wonder why.
Yeah, I don't know. Where are you seeing now?
Who is subject to NIFA compliance?
Oh gosh. Okay.
How about trying along the bottom to the left of the Zoom, down at the very bottom.
Yeah, and that's exactly
Did you try that
the
button?
problem. So
You might want to go out of the screen share.
that's what I'm about to do.
Yeah, there you go.
Because I use screen share all the time and it's usually not an issue. So let me go back here.
It's a part of technology. We'll figure it out.
Yeah, right. It's always something.
Always something.
There should be an actual poster put up there, which is the End Justice for All poster. That poster gives the anti-discrimination language and explains the process of how somebody of the public would make a grievance against for a discrimination type of claim. And that is really what this is all about, is giving notice to the public, giving notice to people that ultimately benefit from NIFA dollars. It's got to go on marketing material, on flyers, and there's a couple of different poster versions. There's a long version, there's a short version. All that stuff is on the website. All that stuff is in that link that I gave you. Okay, so you want to go to the next slide 7? Gather a team. So again, identify who in your institution is a recipient of NIFA dollars. Make a connection with them, start working with them, say, hey, we've got to prepare. What does your process look like? What do you do with the money? How do you make this go, right? What are the areas of concern? So, for example, one of the AgriLife person said, hey, look, some of this money we used to buy equipment. How do I give notice to a vendor? Well, let's think this through. When you buy equipment through a vendor, there's some sort of written agreement, right? There's some sort of contract, right? Yeah, there's usually some language in there in the contract for who knows what. And maybe, it's because I'm a lawyer, I think like a lawyer, but you got to put that hat on. So you can insert the NIFA required compliance language into that agreement. And as long as you keep a copy of an agreement like that as an example, then that satisfies your compliance because you're giving notice. you should just build a plan so you can start putting all of these little tidbits in like an outline as to like, okay, if I do this, then this happens. Go to step 8. So notification requirements. This is the meat of it. You have to post a non-discrimination statement in its entirety, and that contains those protected classes that are mandated. So race, color, disability. It has to be included in all print and non-print materials. And that means anything: audio, video, website, brochures, newsletters, whatever. There is a short version that you can use that's on the website. Or if it's you're not going to put a big disclaimer or something on, let's say, a slide presentation or a small flyer. So you can just put here, this institution is an equal opportunity provider. Recipients are also required to notify individuals with disabilities, and LEP, which is language is not their first language, or English is not your first language type people. You have to make this stuff available in the language of the locale. So if your NIFA dollars are going to an extension that's based in Venezuela, then you need to make all this available in Spanish. And so I'll show you what the And Justice for All poster looks like if you don't understand, or if you haven't seen it yet. Everything you need is actually on there. So let's go to page 9. So this is the actual language. This is what you need to put on everything in order to be compliant. This was taken right from the And Justice for All poster. This is the long version. So this is what needs to go on a website page. If you have an extension that's receiving NIFA dollars and they have a website that's public facing, at some point on the website, you need this language. You can go with the short version if you need. And if you go to page 10, here's where I boil everything down, my recommendations. And if you need a copy of this slide presentation, let me know. So this is the recommendations I've come up with. All recipients should produce a clear organizational chart. They should designate a staff member to handle civil rights compliance matters and complaints. Once you've designated that person, they should be the frontline communication. We need to make sure that we're communicating with all your stakeholders, that any training that needs to be done on what's the language, where does it go, that sort of thing. Ensure that you are keeping compliance review records, which I'll get into that in a minute. So best practices: make your organizational chart, get your written assurances of non-discrimination set up, which is that language I told you about. Make a training policy. Make a policy that explains what you need to do internally, so all of the stakeholders in your university or college is on the same page. Written procedures and documents for filing the employment and program discrimination complaints. That's part of the compliance. You have to let the public know that if they do have a complaint, this is how they submit that complaint. And then you got to keep a running record, okay? Because at the end of the day, we're going to go through a compliance review, and they're going to say, show us your documents. And the question that I got was, well, that's going to be thousands and thousands of documents. I can't keep a copy of every single thing we do. You don't have to. What you should do is keep like a digital file. So if you have, let's say 50 different programs that take NIFA dollars, you don't have to keep 50 different examples of their website disclosures, maybe 1 or 2 in year 1, year 2, year 3, because these are going on 5-year cycles. If you have vendor contracts that you're going to put this notice language in, keep a couple of those as examples. the point is that when you go through your document show and tell during the review, you should say, okay, look, here's some examples of how we disclose all this information on our websites. Here's some examples of how we put this on our flyers. Here's some examples of how we put this, you know, on our vendor contracts. So you just have to have a running like file of examples, not every single thing you've ever done, because nobody wants to, you know, do that, and it's probably impossible. That's the takeaway here is just at the end of the day, just be able to show that you are compliant in each of the little areas that you need to compliant at. On page 11, this is what the End Justice for All poster looks like. So if you have an extension office where it's an actual physical, you know, brick and mortar place where, you know, your program recipients interact with the public, that poster needs to be prominently displayed. It's got everything in it. It's got the non-discrimination statement. It's got all of the contact information. It's got how to, you know, address a complaint, and they have various languages that it's available in. The required information, all this stuff is from the website. I just copied and pasted this stuff from the website. So it's all there for you. You just need to go and find it. And last one, step 12, page 12, sorry. Again, there's the website where all that information is on. You might have to hunt around for it a little bit, or something that you did that maybe is better, or, you know, this group here has a you know, a brain trust that we can all help each other become compliant and successfully navigate this process. So that's all I have.
Okay, thank you so much for your insight. And again, I just want to stress that this is, you know, Texas A&M's process. And, you know, as you begin to prepare for your reviews, your processes might be a little different. You know, having documents that pertain to the review are, you know, it's a good thing to have, especially if there is turnover or people are leaving. The person that kind of comes into that role can find that binder and say, oh, okay, like this is what they're kind of looking for. And also remember that if that is what you choose to do, that you update policies and procedures as they're annually or biannually being updated. Next on my presenter list, I have, let me see here, writing corrective action plans responsive to civil rights recommendations. And this is Antonio Mclaren from North Carolina Agriculture and Technical State University. And once, Antonio, you're done, we'll take Q&A, questions and answers that Roberto, my colleague, will kind of post and cover. So thank you all. Antonio, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, if you have issues sharing your screen, just send me the presentation and I will put it up. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Shabnam. And good afternoon, everyone. So Antonio Mclaren, I'm going to, first of all, before I even begin, let me just see if the screen sharing will work for me. All right, give me 1 second here. Okay, hopefully you see my screen.
Yep, you're in good shape.
Good. Okay. Shabnam, I'm gonna try to move through this rather quickly so that we can leave some time for Q&A at the back end. So forgive me in advance, but I'm gonna go quicker than I initially anticipated. So I'm gonna just jump right in, folks. So Antonio Mclaren, I am the Civil Rights and Accountability Program Specialist. Really, I'm a consultant, and I joined North Carolina A&T Cooperative has taken place, and NIFA has provided findings back to the institution, how the institution can best prepare to develop the corrective action plan. So that's where I'm really going to focus my comments for this afternoon. So really, everything really begins with the compliance review process. Joseph did a good job of describing that. On the next couple of slides, it's really just gonna, I'll just talk through sort of the timeline that we had. Initially, we were contacted last March. A&T, we submitted the materials to NIFA in May. In July, the compliance review took place. Typically, these reviews are done face-to-face. However, given the pandemic, we did it virtually. And let me just kind of give you some additional context. I also have 22 years of service with USDA, including 15 years I spent with NIFA, so I know NIFA very well. And currently I'm doing a couple things, but one of the things that I do is I'm a consultant. So this was an opportunity for me, having not been with NIFA, to join A&T to really help them move through this process. The other thing I'll just quickly mention is that the reason why I was hired is because at the time, the program evaluation and accountability coordinator position at A&T was vacant. And so I was brought in to really assist, given the gap in that position. We have since, as of last December, hired a very dynamic leader who's on here this afternoon, Dr. Lauren Hargrave. So really, I also want to publicly just thank her for taking this forward in terms of the corrective action plan that we have developed. But as we move through this, again, just know that as Joseph mentioned, when it came to developing the plan, we didn't have a template either. So we kind of had to be creative and figure things out in terms of what works best for A&T. So on my next slide, which is really the last slide for the timeline piece, in August of last year, we received the findings from NIFA. And then we submitted our corrective action plan in October. So the next several slides through the end of my presentation are going to be very visual. So just kind of listen to what I'm saying, and the pictures, I think, hopefully will be supportive of that. So what is corrective action? Essentially, corrective action is an opportunity to identify problems or fix the cause of a problem after the problem has already been identified, or the potential problem has already been identified. So it's an opportunity for us to become better. Best practices. What are some best practices for writing a corrective action plan? A lot of the slides I'm gonna go through is not gonna really focus so much on the writing, but it's gonna focus on all the different pieces that feed into the entire corrective action plan development process. Number one, this is the only step that I think should be done even before the compliance review and the findings are released to the university. When you're going through your own compliance, when you're developing those materials to be submitted to NIFA, one of the good things that you could do is identify those opportunities for corrective action ahead of time and include that as a part of your submission. What that does is it allows you and your team to be very thoughtful about what are the things that you can do better so that you're in a better position after the review. And I think it also helps NIFA in this case, because when they receive your materials, they're going to be going through all of them very carefully. And if you've already pre-identified some gaps, I think it helps them to also provide you the best findings. So always think ahead, in terms of what things that you think you can do better, and just have that already pre-identified. Next thing, NIFA provides 60 days for the institution to develop the corrective action plan after the release of the findings. Okay, you have 60 days. The best thing to do is maximize those 60 days by getting started immediately. Do not procrastinate. Those 60 days do move rather quickly. The other thing, and I guess, let me just go to the next slide because it's sort of related, is you want to take ownership. Leadership has to take ownership. We don't have time to point the fingers as to why certain things went wrong, right? It's not, as Joseph mentioned, it's not a NIFA process to, hey, I got you. It's not that at all. It's a partnership between NIFA and your university to figure out what are some things that you can do better. So don't play the blame game. You don't have time for that. It's 60 days. You really got to take ownership to really develop the best corrective action plan so that you can move forward. Build the team. Joseph mentioned this. I'm going to mention it here as well. The team that took the lead on developing your materials and getting ready for your review might be the same team that takes the lead on writing the corrective action plan. That's up to you and your institution forward, okay? Design a structure. And so when I put this slide together, I was thinking about, actually talking through my structure in detail. I'm not gonna do that. What I would rather do is, if you are curious about the A&T Cooperative Extension structure of the plan, just reach out to me. I can certainly talk through that with you. You want to identify a structure that is best for your institution and your plan. Identify the most critical information that NIFA needs to know, as that will inform the structure of your document. Ensure that your written plan directly corresponds to the issues identified in the NIFA's findings. And then also just think about, the basics: who, what, when, where, why, and how. Okay, so if there's an issue of concern that NIFA brings to your attention, then you think about who's responsible for that, how long is it going to take to resolve it, what is your proposed deadline to get feedback back to NIFA, why is it important, why is it relevant? So think about sort of those basic questions, because then that will help you to really structure your plan. But again, I'm certainly I'm open to, sharing the structure of our plan, and NIFA can certainly share the structure of our plan on our behalf. I don't think that's an issue there. So I would say do what's best for you. Along with that, seek feedback. So whoever your point of contact is on your team, ensure that you are getting buy-in from your team members. So one of the things that we did is we had a document on OneDrive, and using track changes, we were able to basically see everyone's input into the document. Nothing was ever hidden, everything was transparent. We also think that you should do multiple reviews of the plan before you submit it to NIFA. So I would at minimum say 2 rounds of in-depth technical review and editing, just to make sure that, one, it makes sense from a content perspective, but then the other thing is from a grammar, spelling perspective, that it also makes sense. So I would say minimum 2 rounds, but if you need more, again, that's really up to you. Speak up and be heard. Team members should be proactive on contributing input into the plan. You might have to have some difficult conversations, depending on the issues that NIFA raise. And if that's the case, then have those conversations. Do not hold back. I think when you hold back in this process, that actually minimizes the impact of your plan. So you want to speak up. You want to make sure that your input is at the table. And I just pretty much mentioned this already. Transparency is very key. I would also say that transparency is key for your entire organizational unit. So after the plan has been developed, you want to do a webinar with your unit. Everyone in your organization should be aware of the corrective action plan. Think smart when it comes to your plan. So think about those things that are specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time. Specific, like state what you're going to do. Like, what are you going to do to correct this issue? What is the timeline? How are you going to measure success? How is it going to be achieved? Is it attainable? Is it relevant? How is it going to provide benefits back to the organization? And I mentioned time already in terms of just the specific deadline and how much time you're going to need to actually get it done. And last is, if you can't think smart, then think outside the box. I mean, what are the things that make your university or your unit unique? And So think about new creative resources or strategies that are needed to develop a corrective action plan. Think about things that maybe haven't been done before, things that are innovative. Maybe your leadership might want to identify new resources. Do you need more human resource capital to correct some of the issues? That was one of the issues with us, is that we needed to hire someone for our evaluation and accountability work. So we knew that going in, that was a corrective action issue. So what are the things that are going to be needed to make your corrective action plan work? And then last is my contact information. If you need any information, any insight, any other I guess words of wisdom. I mean, I would say overall we had a pretty good process in terms of the